Welcome, Jenet Morrison. We are so happy to get an opportunity to interview you. You are a postpartum doula and a certified sleep coach. And so I really wanted you to come on today and really help educate the families. Sometimes it's even the grandparents, right, that we're educating, but it's not just moms, it's not just dads. We could be talking to other practitioners out there about what it looks like when they work with someone with this particular expertise. So, Janae, would you please kind of explain to us um, what it is that you do and how you support these families, but also how you support the breastfeeding family? Because it's important. It's not just about bottle fed babies, it's not just about formula fed babies. It is about, supporting all families, right?
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me. So, yes, as you mentioned, I am a certified postpartum doula. I provide daytime as well as overnight support for families, typically in the first 6 to 12 weeks after baby is born. And I do daytime support where a lot of times it'll be in the morning. Clients will get the opportunity to maybe have a shower, or I'll come in and make them breakfast. Just really being there emotionally as well if they've had a hard night, didn't get a lot of sleep, or just answering questions about typical baby care, feeding questions, helping support them with breastfeeding if they need it, and giving them opportunities for rest. I also help with light housework, baby laundry, washing bottles, or things like that. And then overnight, I'm helping, same thing with feeding. I supported families where mom was exclusively breastfeeding the entire time that I am with them. And so in that case, I will kind of come in and usually be in the nursery with the baby, or a guest room and baby's in the bassinet with me. And then when baby wakes to feed during the night, I will do the diaper changing, swaddling, unswaddling, burping, resettling back to sleep, either bring baby to mom in her bed to feed, or sometimes they're more comfortable maybe going into the living room or coming into the nursery to feed, making sure she has water or if she needs a snack, things like that, um, through the night. And it just allows mom to get a little bit more sleep because I'm helping with the other tasks that go along with, newborn care during the night. So,
Yes. Yes. So as a postpartum doula myself, right, I also understand the value of their mental health,
yes,
right?
yeah,
Because a sleep deprived mama is not a happy mama.
that's so
It's
true.
really hard to function, and it can also play havoc on the relationship between the parents.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes. And it's such a great point that you brought up. I've had times where I've come to a client's home in the morning, and these are typically families that don't have overnight support. And, sometimes you get there and you just say, "Good morning, how are you?" or "How was your night?" And they will just sometimes break down in tears, and sometimes bring up, something that maybe their partner did that morning that annoyed them, like leaving the wipes container open, you know, and or forgetting to take out the trash or something like that. And you can recognize, and especially having been through postpartum, myself several times, that a lot of times it's, have you eaten yet today? How was your night last night? Did you get sleep? And then they will oftentimes need, a nap, or they have not eaten anything yet. And so I will either make them a breakfast sandwich or something, and then hold the baby so that they can eat a hot meal, and they feel so much better. And sometimes, by the time I'm leaving a few hours later, they're like, I'm so sorry, that was, that wasn't me. And they can recognize that, yeah, I needed food, I needed sleep, and I didn't even realize it, because when you are sleep deprived, emotions are a lot higher. So
Yes, for sure. And I know that you also, it's not just postpartum support for the mom and the baby, it is also for the dad
yes,
or the partner, right? Because
absolutely.
they don't understand. Maybe it's their first time family, and they're just like, sometimes the dad doesn't even know how to hold the baby, right?
Yes.
Sometimes I'll see them hold the baby way out here, and I'm like, no, no, bring the baby in.
Yes.
The baby will feel so much safer inside next to you versus way out here.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place for everything, but here, this is how we do it. And
Mhm.
sometimes just basic teaching skills, right? That can come naturally for some and not so for others, right? I will
Yeah.
often ask, like, how much baby experience have you had before you guys brought your baby home? And,
Mhm.
their eyes are always like really big, and they're like, no. And then I'm like, okay, I know where to start,
Right,
right?
right.
And so, as a postpartum doula, you teach them some really basic skills, but you also help teach them, I'm assuming, how to recognize what their baby's cues are too, right?
Yes, yes. I think it's really important, to help increase their confidence, and, just be that person that is not judging them, because sometimes family, they have the best intentions, they mean well, but they might be overbearing, or they might, feel embarrassed to say, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to change a diaper, or I'm not sure if I'm holding my newborn correctly. And so to have somebody come in that they can ask those things, they know you've seen it all. And so they don't feel so, um, embarrassed or intimidated to ask those questions, and share their concerns. And I love to be that person that's telling a new mom or a new dad, like, oh, you're doing a great job, or give them techniques for soothing that, um, they'll tell me the next time I'm there, oh, I tried that, the heavy hand on the chest, and it really helped, calm the baby down. And you can see that they feel proud that they were able to, you know, soothe the baby, that maybe the first couple days they weren't, and they didn't know what to do. So just helping, yes, like you said, give them, tips and little tricks that I've picked up along the way, that they can use, and they're practical, and they help increase their confidence as new parents.
Right. And I think as a postpartum doula, your role is to equip them, right?
Yes,
Help them learn how to do what they can do so you can walk away knowing that you have given them a solid foundation, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and help make that transition, a little bit just easier all around. One of the things I love doing is helping dads learn how to baby wear, especially if mom is breastfeeding, because sometimes they feel like, I want to help, but how can I help? She's feeding the baby, 8 to 12 times a day, and I can't feed the baby, so I feel kind of helpless. And so, I've helped a lot of dads with figuring out their baby carrier, and show them, this is something your baby loves, and you can still empty the dishwasher because your hands free, and then mom can get a little break, or shower,
Mhm.
or eat a meal, with two hands. So, yes, it's really, like you said, not just supporting the new mom, but really the entire family.
Mm. Yes. And sometimes let's just talk about a family that maybe has another child already. So
Yeah.
teaching them how to introduce, the older child to the younger one, and things to look for, like that may not be obvious, like, if they have a standing bassinet and the toddler gets up and wants to look inside the baby and knocks the the bath, like all those things that we learned as parents, like, oh no, 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 no.
Right.
Sometimes we learn the hard way, but boy, do we gain a lot of wisdom, and we
Yeah,
can share that wisdom, right?
absolutely. Yes, I had a client who was breastfeeding her newborn, and she had a 2.5 year old, and she was struggling a little bit with, I am spending so much time sitting down feeding the baby throughout the day. I feel bad because, my toddler, it seems like that's when he decides to, get into things that maybe are dangerous or that he knows he's not supposed to, but I'm sitting down feeding the baby. And so um, we came up with a plan to have a basket of activities that only come out when mom's feeding the baby, and it really helped, him to stay in the room with her, and he was so interested in these things that he didn't have access to all of the time, that it helped her for those days, those early days when the baby was first born.
Yeah, I like that too. I do that as well, and I always say, keep it up high, don't so you're not tempted to bring it back down.
Yes.
And sometimes it's gifts from the new baby, like, "Look
Yes, I love
at
that.
you," right? Or maybe it's a book that you can read with your child, so it's not like they're playing alone.
Yes.
And then I always will suggest, like, hey, if you put your older child by the feet of the baby, then if they hit the baby, then that actually stimulates the baby to suck instead of if you're sitting on the other side where they're next to the head, and then they constantly are putting their hands or their, faces on the head, and then it pulls the baby away. So they're
Yes.
like, oh, that is so good. And I'm like,
It
yeah,
is.
yeah,
Yeah,
these little things that you don't know unless someone teaches you, which is
exactly.
super helpful. So let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about how you support them through sleeping, like as a certified sleep consultant. Do you do the cry it out method? Do you do this gentle sleep training? What do you do?
I don't personally do the cry it out method or recommend it to my clients. I've never had clients or families that I've supported that used it either. I do tend to lean more towards gentle sleep shaping and sleep training. Typically, when I work with families, a lot of times there will be one parent that's a little bit, you know, more ready to kind of get sleep in shape, and they are kind of ready to like rip off the band-aid and go, we can't sustain this anymore. And that's why typically they're hiring a professional, because they've tried all the things themselves and they're just not working, and they're realizing, we need to make some changes here and we need help. And so typically there's one parent that, like I said, they're going, you tell us what to do and we'll do it if it means getting more sleep. And then a lot of times the other parent is a little bit, more hesitant, or they do have concerns like, I don't want my child to feel like I'm not there for them, or I'm leaving them to cry, or um, they want to do it in a more slow, gentle way. And so I always support my clients in that, because I really feel that a lot of the times the kids or even babies, they want to be sleeping more, and a lot of times it's tweaks that the parents need to make to make that happen. But you really do have to, as the parent, you have to feel comfortable and confident in what you're doing, because if you're not going to be consistent. And I feel like that's really unfair to the baby or the child to get these mixed signals, mixed messages in how you're responding. And so I think that's really one of the most important things about making improvements or changes to sleep for babies and toddlers is consistency. And so, whatever that looks like for that family, it could look like um, going from, rocking the baby to sleep every time they wake up at night, to just standing at the crib still and holding them, and going really slowly like that, just making very small things that, as the parent, they feel like I'm still responding to my child in the middle of the night when they wake, and we're just making these little small adjustments that eventually are going to, get us to our goal of baby sleeping through the night or whatever that goal is.
Right. And there is an age appropriate timeline for babies sleeping through the night.
Yeah.
So can you speak into that a little bit?
I think it looks different for every baby, developmentally they're each so different. I've worked with families that have had their babies sleep through the night just on their own at 4 weeks old. I've had families that have come to me with a 2-year old or a 4-year old that have never slept through the night. And I think the most important thing is if your baby is developmentally ready, is that feeding is going well, that they are getting enough calories throughout a 24-hour period. So I like to look at the whole picture, not just nighttime. We talk a lot about feeding, and so I think that's the key. Is is your baby gaining weight? Um, are they able? Are they ready to be able to go a long stretch without a feed? And I think that just looks different for each baby. So some do it really really young, and some not until they're not ready until they're much older.
Mhm. Yeah, I do find an occasional baby, like you said, that does do it early. And I always feel like that's an anomaly. Like and these parents are out there proudly saying, my baby sleeps through the night. That does give some issues for these other families that are struggling, like, why my baby is, you know, maybe my baby's 12 weeks or 16 weeks or 20 weeks or, whatever that might look like. And they're like, how come my baby doesn't sleep through the night?
Yeah.
And so we, like you said, we always need to go back and look at their feeding patterns, see how many calories they're taking in, how many ounces of weight are they gaining,
Yeah.
per week. Like there's a big, big picture. It's not just a slam dunk, one and done kind of situation. And I
Yes.
think really educating families to really know that there's more to it. And if you're struggling, like you can help walk them through this, right?
Yes.
Having someone that is on the same page. And in other words, I am not a fan of cry it out. I'm just going to publicly speak that out. I am not a fan. And there's many reasons why I'm not a fan of that. One is often the baby is crying because they have a need that needs to be fulfilled, right? And I always use this as an example. If you're the mom and you have a husband and you're crying and your husband just looks at you and walks away, would you feel safe? Would you feel loved? Would you feel noted? Like acknowledged? Would you feel any of those things or would you feel something else? And
Mm,
most often they all say, I would feel abandoned. I'm like, exactly. And that's what the crying out method makes a baby feel. They cannot verbally say it, but you'll see it when they stop crying because they've realized that nobody's going to come to rescue me. And that
mm.
just breaks my heart.
Me
And
too.
and I have to say on another note, I do counsel older, people um, through trauma, and those that had been abandoned has gone way back into the newborn phases. And so we have to heal that. And if we can prevent that, then we don't have to heal that. So I think gentle sleep training is helpful, but knowing the whole picture is much better, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It's okay. Sorry, of course you start barking right then. Okay. Okay. No more. No. 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 Lay down. I'm sorry. Goldie. Stop. Uh,
There's our editing moment.
thank, thank you. I'm gonna actually put her out of my room so that doesn't happen again. Goldie, go. 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 Come. Come. Good girl. Good girl. Come. 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 There you go. Good girl. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, where should we pick up at?
Just the value of recognizing that um, crying it out is not healthy. Like,
Yes.
crying it out is not healthy. There are different ways to comfort your baby without having to go through that and still to help them learn how to sleep through the night if they can
Yeah.
physiologically, right? And if they are ready, like every baby is a little bit different than another, and we cannot compare one baby to the other when we have a family of like I have 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids, 5 kids, whatever that might look like, and they may all have a different pattern on
Yeah.
how they get there. I also believe, and maybe you can speak into this, about their nap time during the daytime.
Mhm.
If you have an overtired baby because they're not sleeping well during the day, they're not going to sleep well at night. Is that accurate?
So true. It's so true. And that's why, as I mentioned before, when I am supporting a family, because I do the postpartum doula work, where I'm typically with families, right from birth or a few days after, up until anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks. But then I also, as a pediatric sleep consultant, I also work with families, obviously with older babies, toddlers, children but I always have them give me a full picture of the day, how the daytime sleep is going, feeding, taking all of those things into considerations before we're able to just focus on sleep because it's all part of the picture. It's like a puzzle. And you're right. If a baby is overtired because they're not napping enough during the day or sleeping too much, it's going to affect, their nighttime sleep for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to thank you for like just giving and sharing your wisdom. I think that people have an opportunity to learn from you and other, you know, s- providers.
Thank you.
And I think it's important too that if you're listening to this, episode, I think that you should, look up in your area, wherever you might live, look for the credentials, right? You're looking for postpartum doulas that are trained and certified, as well as sleep, training coaches. And then ask them, like, hey, what is your, theory or philosophy? Like, where do you stand? And I think as you interview a few different people, if needed, you will find that right fit. It also matters if you get along with the person that you're working with, right?
Yeah.
Because they're going to spend a lot of time in your home.
Yes. So,
Yeah. And
yes.
it's hard to take advice from someone you don't like, right? And it doesn't mean they're a bad person. It just means you're not connecting. That's
Right.
all. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great advice. And thank you for what you're doing. And I think it's so important to educate new parents and parents to be, about breastfeeding and like we talked about how it's all so connected, sleep, as well as feeding. So it's really important what you're doing.
thank you. And just to remember, you can reach your goals, your breastfeeding goals, and still have a sound mind and a good relationship with your children and your husband or partner. So, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much again, Janae. I really
Thank you,
appreciate
Leilani.
it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, what a blessing you are to all those families you get to serve.
Oh, well, I can say the same for you. And it was great talking with you today.
Thank you. Same here. Bye-bye.